Welcome back to another episode of HealthCap Weekly Wrap.
Yeah, this week we've got a great lineup that's all about leadership, clinical excellence, and even some cutting-edge science.
Right. If you're a medical director or work closely with one, you'll want to stick around. We're starting off with some solid insights on how to stay survey ready from Dr. Diane Sanders-Cepeda.
And then we're going to break down what your role really looks like during the survey process. Because let's be honest, it's more than just showing up for meetings.
After that, we'll dive into some tools that support clinical teams, like how proper lifting techniques can help prevent pressure injuries.
And we've got a really useful resource from PharMerica on medications with shortened expiration dates. It's easy to overlook, but it can make or break a community's MedPass process.
Plus, there's a platform you may not know about, the GWEP Online Community. Tons of training tools and resources for anyone working in geriatrics.
And to wrap things up, a huge scientific breakthrough that could lead to new treatments for Parkinson's disease. That one really blew us away.
Yeah, it's a packed episode, but all of it ties back to how we care for residents every day. Let's get started.
All right, let's start with that PALT Talk episode featuring Dr. Diane Sanders-Cepeda.
Yeah, this one was such a strong message for medical directors. Basically a wake-up call that survey readiness isn't just a box to check. It's an ongoing, daily practice.
Exactly. And what I appreciated most was how she broke it down. She wasn't just saying, do better. She talked about CMS's updated guidance and how medical directors have a much bigger role now, especially around quality assurance and performance improvement, or QAPI.
Right, and not just sitting on the QAPI committee, but actively leading those conversations. Like making sure audits are actually meaningful, identifying trends, and then pushing for action.
She also emphasized psychotropic medication oversight. That's such a hot-button issue during surveys, and Dr. Sanders-Cepeda was pretty clear. It's not enough to just know what's being prescribed. You have to understand why and whether it's still clinically necessary.
And I like that she talked about collaboration too, how medical directors need to be walking the floor, engaging with nursing, knowing the residents, not just being a name on the org chart.
Totally. Because when the surveyors walk in, they're not just looking at paper. They're looking for a culture of care, and leadership sets that tone.
So if you're a medical director listening or part of the leadership team, this is a great one to revisit with your QAPI lead. It's not just about passing a survey, it's about building trust and quality that residents feel every day.
Couldn't agree more. All right, let's keep going and talk about how that leadership role plays out during the actual survey process.
Okay, so now that we've heard the big picture vision from Dr. Sanders-Cepeda, let's talk about what that looks like during an actual survey.
Yeah, this next piece from PALTC really drills down into the day-to-day responsibilities medical directors have. And it's a lot more hands-on than people might think.
For sure. One of the key takeaways? Medical directors aren't just advisors. They're expected to be proactive leaders during the survey process.
Right, and that includes things like participating in routine audits, reviewing incident reports, and being visible on leadership rounds. Surveyors want to see that the medical director actually knows what's happening in the building.
And it ties directly into the revised CMS guidance. There's a huge focus now on facility assessments and how well leadership understands resident needs, staffing patterns, and care delivery systems.
Yeah, and they call out the QAA committee too. It's not just a meeting you attend, it's a mechanism for ongoing improvement. So if you're a medical director, you should be contributing to that process in a real way, not just showing up once a quarter.
Another thing they mentioned that stood out, you've got to be familiar with the community's care policies, especially around high-risk areas like infections, psych meds, and falls.
Absolutely, because during a survey, if something goes sideways, like a medication error or a pressure injury, the medical director's involvement is going to be scrutinized.
So this guide isn't just helpful, it's essential reading for anyone in a medical leadership role. And honestly, it's a good reminder that leadership in senior living isn't passive. It's active, engaged, and resident-centered.
Exactly. And speaking of being engaged, one area where that really comes into play is the MDS. It's more than just documentation. It's the foundation for quality, compliance, and reimbursement.
Right, and if that process breaks down, Everything from resident outcomes to survey results can take a hit. That's why we dedicated 2 full episodes to it in our own podcast, Heart to Heart with HealthCap.
Let's talk about that next. Robin Hillier joined Angie to unpack everything you need to know about MDS, from basics to the most recent updates.
Yeah, Robin really breaks down the complexities of the MDS process. In part 1, she discusses how the MDS is utilized across care delivery, compliance, and reimbursement, emphasizing the importance of coding accuracy and interdisciplinary collaboration.
Then in part 2, they delve into the recent updates to the MDS as of October 1st, 2023. They cover critical coding changes, penalties tied to incomplete assessments, challenges with Section GG, and how interdisciplinary teams can improve accuracy and resident outcomes.
It's a comprehensive look at the MDS landscape, packed with practical insights for senior living professionals. If you're involved in MDS assessments or just want to understand them better, these episodes are a must-listen.
Absolutely. You can find both episodes on our website or wherever you get your podcasts. Just search for Heart to Heart with HealthCap.
So after that deep dive into MDS with Robin Hillier, it really drives home how every piece of the care process connects: documentation, clinical practices, and outcomes.
Exactly. And one area where we see that connection crystal clear is in pressure injury prevention. Because even with perfect documentation, if care practices aren't proactive, residents are still at risk.
That brings us to the next story from a podcast hosted by NPIAP featuring Dr. Joyce Black. It's all about using safe resident handling techniques to prevent pressure injuries.
Yeah, the episode focuses on this concept they call lift, shift, protect. And it's about more than just using the right equipment. It's about teaching staff how to reposition residents correctly, how often to do it, and making it part of the daily rhythm of care.
And honestly, pressure injuries are still one of the most cited deficiencies during surveys. So communities that are investing in proper techniques and reinforcing them regularly are not just improving outcomes, they're protecting themselves.
I also liked how they tied in support surfaces, like waffle cushions and heel protectors. But the core message was clear. Prevention starts with consistent, skilled human touch.
And it's not just a nursing issue. Therapy, aides, leadership, everyone has a role in prevention. When those teams work together, residents feel the difference.
Absolutely. And if you're looking for ways to reinforce best practices in your own community, HealthCap has an interactive skin and wound care guide that's packed with resources. You can find it at resources.healthcapusa.com/skin and wound care.
All right, let's shift gears from hands-on care to something that impacts every med cart and med pass in the building: shortened expiration dates.
Yeah, PharMerica just put out a great resource on this. It's all about medications with what they call beyond use dates, or BUDs. These are meds that, once opened or mixed, need to be used or tossed within a specific time frame, no matter what the printed expiration says. And this is huge, because expired medications aren't just a compliance issue, they're a resident care issue. If the efficacy is compromised, so is the treatment.
Exactly. The guide walks through common categories like insulin, eye drops, suspensions, and gives detailed reminders on when they need to be discarded. It's the kind of reference every med nurse should have bookmarked.
And let's be honest, between shift changes, PRNs, and new orders, it's easy for something to slip through the cracks. This is where proper labeling, communication, and routine cart checks make all the difference.
It's also a good topic to bring up during staff huddles. Just asking, hey, are we tracking opened meds correctly? Can prevent a survey citation, or worse, a resident receiving ineffective care.
Definitely, and it's not just nursing. Pharmacy consultants, DONs, even the medical director should be looped in on these practices to keep everyone aligned.
So if you haven't reviewed your med storage and labeling process lately, this is a good excuse to do it. You can download the full PharMerica guide on their website. It's clear, quick, and super practical.
Up next, we'll explore a powerful online resource for building up your team's skills and collaboration, especially if you're focused on age-friendly care.
So after thinking about med passes and clinical workflows, let's talk about how we support the people behind all that care. Because strong outcomes start with a well-equipped team.
Exactly. And that's where the GWEP Online Community comes in. If you haven't heard of it, GWEP stands for Geriatrics Workforce Enhancement Program, and it's all about building up knowledge and collaboration in age-friendly care.
Yeah, this platform is packed with tools. Everything from clinical education modules to care planning resources, and even templates you can use in real time.
And it's not just for clinicians. Whether you're in leadership, staff development, or frontline care, there's something here to support your role.
I really liked how the platform encourages interdisciplinary collaboration. You can share resources, discuss challenges, and learn from other professionals across the country who are all working toward better outcomes for older adults.
And for communities that are already doing QWAPI or working toward age-friendly health system goals, this is a goldmine.
Definitely. It's also worth mentioning that there's a short tutorial video that walks you through how to use the site. Super helpful if you want to bring it into a team meeting or onboarding session.
We'll include that video link in the show notes. Honestly, even just spending 10 minutes exploring the platform could give your team a fresh perspective on how to approach care.
All right, we've covered a lot of ground, but we've got one more story to end on, and it's a big one. A decades-long Parkinson's mystery might finally be solved.
Yeah, this last story is about a major breakthrough in Parkinson's research. Scientists in Australia have finally mapped the full structure of a protein called PINK1, which has stumped researchers for decades.
Right, PINK1 plays a major role in how cells manage damaged mitochondria, which is a big factor in Parkinson's disease. For years, researchers couldn't see exactly how this protein functioned, but now they've mapped it out at the molecular level.
And that's important because understanding this protein's structure means researchers can finally start designing drugs that target it, potentially stopping the disease from progressing instead of just treating symptoms.
Exactly, it's not a cure, but it's a big step forward in how we might treat or even prevent Parkinson's down the road.
And for senior living communities, this matters. Parkinson's affects so many residents, and anything that brings hope for better outcomes down the line is worth paying attention to.
Totally agree. Plus, it's a reminder that even while we focus on the day-to-day challenges of care, science is moving forward, and the future of aging could look very different in the years to come.
And that's something we can all feel good about.
Thanks so much for tuning in to this week's episode of HealthCap Weekly Wrap.
From survey leadership to pressure injury prevention, med safety, and a look ahead at breakthrough science, we covered a lot of ground today.
And hopefully you found something in each story that you can take back to your community, your team, or your own practice.
If you want to dive deeper into any of the topics we talked about, head over to Angie's blog at healthcapusa.com/Angie's blog. You'll find all the links and resources from today's episode right there.
We'll be back next week with more insights, stories, and tools to support the incredible work you do every day in senior living.
Take care, and we'll talk next week.